The murdered babysitter urban legend is one of the most chilling and enduring tales of modern folklore. While its popularity as an urban legend has led many to dismiss it as pure fiction, there are accounts of a supposed true incident from the mid-20th century that may have inspired this macabre story. Here's the narrative often cited as the true origin of the legend. The alleged true story of the murdered babysitter. The events are said to have taken place in the late 1950s or early 1960s in a small, quiet suburban town in the United States. The community was a picturesque, serene place where families felt safe leaving their doors unlocked and children played freely in the streets. It was in this seemingly idyllic setting that the tragedy unfolded. A teenage girl, often referred to in retellings as Janet, though her name has been lost to time or changed to protect her identity, had been hired to babysit for a local family. The family, consisting of a young couple and their 2 small children, was going out for a date night. They left Janet in charge of their home and their sleeping children, promising to return before midnight. The evening began uneventfully. Janet put the children to bed, tidied up the house, and settled into the living room to relax. She turned on the television, watched an old black and white movie, and occasionally checked on the kids upstairs. Around 9 p.m., however, she started to feel uneasy. The house was quiet, too quiet. Then the phone rang. When Janet answered, the voice on the other end was low and raspy. "Have you checked the children?" the caller asked. Thinking it was a prank, Janet hung up without responding and dismissed it as a wrong number. But the phone rang again a few minutes later. This time, the voice was more insistent. "Why haven't you checked the children?" Janet was now unnerved. She went upstairs to peek in on the kids, who were both sound asleep in their beds. Relieved, she returned downstairs and tried to shake off the sense of dread that was creeping over her. But it wasn't long before the phone rang again. The same voice, the same question. "Have you checked the children?" This time, the caller added a chilling warning. "You should check them before it's too late." Frightened, Janet called the police. The officer on the other end of the line told her to stay calm and promised to trace the next call. They advised her to keep the caller on the line if he called again. Janet agreed and sat trembling in the living room, clutching the phone. When the phone rang again, Janet answered, trying to remain calm. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice shaking. The caller let out a low, menacing laugh. "Because I'm already in the house," he said before the line went dead. Moments later, the police called back. The officer on the line was frantic. "Get out of the house now," he shouted. "The call is coming from inside the house." Janet dropped the phone and ran for the front door, throwing it open just as the police arrived. They stormed the house and found the intruder upstairs, hiding in a closet near the children's bedroom. He was armed with a knife and had been watching Janet the entire evening, waiting for the right moment to strike. Thankfully, the children were unharmed, but Janet was left deeply traumatized. The evolution of the legend. This story, whether true or an amalgamation of real events and fiction, has been passed down and adapted over the decades. In some versions, the babysitter is not as lucky. She is found murdered alongside the children. In others, the children are taken while the babysitter is distracted. The chilling concept of a killer calling from inside the house taps into deep fears about the vulnerability of being alone in an unfamiliar home, trusted with the care of others, and not knowing what dangers might be lurking nearby. While no definitive evidence ties this tale to one specific incident, it is believed to reflect anxieties of the time, when suburban families were adjusting to new lifestyles and grappling with the idea that danger could strike even in the safest of places. Some criminologists and folklorists have suggested that the story may have been inspired by real cases of home invasions or babysitter murders, such as the infamous 1950s case of Jeanette Chrisman, a 13-year-old babysitter who was murdered while watching a young child in Missouri. The details of her murder, though different from the urban legend, carry enough thematic similarities to suggest that it could have served as partial inspiration. Over time, the story has become a staple of horror films, books, and cautionary tales, cementing its place as one of the most enduring urban legends in modern history.